Everybody hates Diablo 4. Uh-oh. 17 damage. Where's the picture? 17. Hurricane does 17 damage. 17? Happiest Druid. Alright, let's watch this. Here we go.
Today's video is sponsored by Ridge. They've currently got an anniversary sale taking place. If you head over to ridge.com/force from now until March 26, you can save up to 40% on any purchase. Stay tuned for later in the video to learn more. With the Diablo 4 pre-order beta taking place last weekend, we've started to see a slew of early impressions and reviews, many of which coming from seasoned members of the ARPG community who had some major criticisms for the game. What seemed to be the largest, most common complaints boiled down to a repetitive dungeon structure, poor itemization, the game's use of level and power scaling, and just an overall lack of innovation and or complexity in Diablo 4. Now I've watched...
I think the lack of complexity is just simply because people are comparing it to an end game of like PoE. I feel like with the Paragon system, with the legendaries, with the class affixes, or like that, you know, the enchantments or the arsenal with Barbarian, I feel like it's going to be complex enough. And I think that it's not supposed to be really complex. They don't want it to be as complex as PoE because people already have PoE.
And read tons of this coverage over the past week with videos from some really great creators, like people whose opinion I highly respect and value. Kriparian put out an hour-long epic of a review. This dude is just great. He was a Diablo 3 extraordinaire, holding the world's first and only pre-nerf hardcore Diablo Inferno clear, which was quite a spectacle back then and is still impressive to this day. Plus, he's just a chill dude, like really nice from my interactions. A pleasure to speak with. Ziggy D, who I remember first meeting back in the StarCraft 2 days. Later,
this guy's a really big PoE guy. He is really, really into PoE. He's been making guides for PoE and stuff for years.
Transitioned into more variety and being like a full-on ARPG guide. Tons of Path of Exile in particular, making guides and such. He put out a really nice, concise critique of Diablo 4. Mr. Llama SC, who is a big figure in the Diablo 2 scene, well known for speedrunning and just really liking Diablo 2. He like lives and breathes this game. He had plenty to say.
I think, didn't he get his wife to come and watch him ID Tyrael's Might or something like that? Was that him? I feel like it was something like that. Yeah? His girlfriend.
About D4 on behalf of that community. And then there's Asmongold, a man who has earned every ounce of his nerd cred. When it comes to no life in games, he has put in the time, or as the kids would say, he's a real one. Each of these people are very articulate, informed, and presented some well thought out critiques and arguments for why various aspects of the current build of Diablo 4 are a bit lackluster and in need of improvement, much of which I generally agree with. The procedural dungeon system has resulted in a fairly predictable and repetitive structure.
I agree with almost everybody's criticisms as well, minus like a handful of them. I just think that some of them will be solved by the game coming out fully, and others will not. But I think some of the worst ones will be solved by the game coming out early, or the game coming out completely.
After so many runs, the layout becomes pretty clear. You move through some winding paths and or hallways until you reach a locked door or mechanism, and then you must complete one of a handful of different objectives to unlock said door, either killing enemies or retrieving keys or other objects. You do that, the door opens, you fight the boss. Now, dungeons are meant to be analogous to Diablo 3's rifts, and to that degree, I do feel like dungeons are more interesting than what rifts were, but that doesn't mean the system is perfect. I think some improvements can be made. Itemization is a bit simple, and to some may be uninteresting.
Itemization being simple, I think, will be a problem that solves itself whenever the game fully comes out and you have gear that has 5 affixes. And I don't think itemization needs to be incredibly complex on release either.
Interesting as of level 20.
Because like most people, like you got to keep in mind, nobody here has even seen a 5 affix item. We're only looking at mainly 3, and only legendaries have 4 affixes.
5, legendary
And
item
bigger
drops
rolls,
might
yeah.
make you stronger,
With,
but
like,
are never
more
particularly
tiers of,
exciting to get as of level
level
25.
points.
And enemy scaling
skill-
with your
skill
level
levels.
really does diminish the sense of power progression. In many instances, as you level up, you feel like you're getting weaker. Combine that with the shared world, where you run into these odd situations where someone half your level might be killing enemies faster than you are because of how the power
Because
scaling
of the class you're playing. You're playing a druid and they're playing something else.
is done. There's also a slew of other complaints that I've seen frequently mentioned, like the world boss had fairly limited mechanics. He just really doesn't do a lot of things.
I think the world boss is very, like, I don't like how it can nearly off-screen you with its arm slash. I think that's shit, and I think the indicator that you're taking damage after you get hit by it is also shit. However, I think other than that, that's a very easy fix, by the way. I think the world boss is incredibly well designed. I think all of its attacks are good. They're easy to see. They're easy to avoid. After doing it, like, you can play it a few times. You'll understand it. You'll have mastery over it. This is a level 25 world boss. World bosses are throwaway world content that is not challenging. You compare this to Moke. You compare this to Thunder Wings. You compare this to whatever I don't know, the Rowan world boss. I forgot its fucking name. You compare it to Koronor or Orion in Lost Ark. All of those bosses, they're all a joke. They're all easy. They're all basically just free content.
Balance is all over the place as of
not a
level
big
25. The UI's overall look and design, some people have issues with. I also saw complaints about the font coming up in some reviews. You know,
I think that's ridiculous. The font's totally fine. It's very easily legible. Yes, obviously they could go with a more demonic font, but that would make it would make it harder to read. The font is totally fucking fine.
well, I mean, I know font theory is a thing. Like, some fonts are more readable and better than others, but also I don't give a flying
Yes.
Generally, though, I do think most of these critiques are fair and accurate, and I would agree that these are some of the more glaring issues with Diablo 4. But at the same time, I wonder if much of it matters at all to a majority of players, which I think
I think that for a lot of people, this beta has been a positive. Most people have seen this beta and become more excited about the game than before.
answer is no.
Which, by the way, is like super fucking rare. That a game comes out in beta and people actually are excited about it.
consider to be the most important core elements of the game, D4 does seem to get right. It looks great,
does.
it feels great, and I
Yes,
have a
it
fun
does.
time while I'm playing. Like, I really enjoyed the preview last fall. Last weekend's beta was a blast, and I can't wait to jump back in and wait in the queue with everyone else in the world this upcoming weekend.
Bro, I
Blizzard
got
doesn't
fucked.
appear to be breaking any molds here or treading much
Yeah.
new ground, although the inclusion of an open shared world
I'm not sure whether they're breaking any molds or anything until we really see the end game. Because, like, Act 1 of an ARPG, how transformative do you even want it to be? I feel like it's fine. Yeah, you don't always have to you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just make a really, really good wheel. And it seems like Diablo 4 is a good wheel. I do want to see more innovation. Absolutely. I'm not saying innovation doesn't matter. It does. However, we're going to have to wait till in-game to really be able to see that.
in an ARPG is something I really enjoy as an MMO fan, but it also doesn't feel revolutionary. And the more important thing is the long-term progression, the hook that's going to keep you coming back time and time again. And that we just kind of have to wait and see until we can get past Act 1 and level 25. In general, it looks like Blizzard is just kind of taking some of what works best in the genre, giving it a Diablo twist, fine-tuning parts, adding a bit of gameplay polish, and creating a product aimed at the mass market. Or in other words, they're doing exactly what they've done with most of their games for the past 20
Yeah, because the truth is, he's right. That's exactly what they did with World of Warcraft. And there were a couple of points of innovation with WoW, absolutely, that set it aside from, like, EverQuest. Like, for example, WoW didn't have loading screens, and there wasn't a big punishment on death in WoW compared to older MMOs, like, just two examples. But overall, yeah, it wasn't a completely new experience. Overwatch 2 a lot of what we saw in Overwatch 2, like, yes, there's some innovation with that, but a lot of it was in Team Fortress 2 as well.
Years. In the fall of 2004, when World of Warcraft was about to launch, I remember being unimaginably hyped, just like out of my mind excited. The idea that Blizzard, a company whose games I grew up loving, was making an MMO in the world of Warcraft with its setting, its history, lore, and characters all fully realized, letting us seamlessly explore Azeroth, the lands of the orcs, humans, night elves, and undead. Like, to me, all of this just sounded too good to be true. I was a freshman in college at the time the pre-release beta took place, and I didn't get in, but one of my dorm mates did, and I remember just sitting there all day watching him play. He was an undead mage, leveling through Tristfall, just spamming frostbolts at skeletons, zombies, plague hounds, and dust bats, seeing the other players running around, being in the Warcraft universe. Like, it was just so cool. I was so excited, my dorm mates were excited, all my friends.
Yeah, everybody was fucking hyped, man. Like, I remember whenever I got the game, like, I didn't get it till like later on, but like we would like everybody would have like their own character on like my account, and then we would take time like playing, like Zach and I, like he would play for an hour, then I would watch him play for an hour. And then I would play for an hour and he'd watch me play for an hour. And like we did this over and over and over, and like Cody and Jeff did the same thing, where like, you know, Cody would play for a while, then Jeff would play. And it's like, I did the same thing with my mom too. It's like, she would play on my account, and then I was like, I ain't playing on my fucking account. I gotta do something important, okay? I gotta run Scarlet Monastery. She said, fuck that. I'm buying my own account. And then she got into the game.
From back home are excited.
Yeah.
We could not wait to play this brand new Blizzard game. So I went online looking forward to learning more and talking about WoW, and everyone hated it. Like, everyone hated WoW. At least that's how it seemed online. The world of
a lot of people were really critical about WoW. The two reasons why people were super critical about the game is, number one, they felt like it was a watered down version of an MMO. Like it was an MMO for babies and casuals and losers, or like babies, casuals, and kids with ADHD. And the other reason was because it cost $15 a month. That was the reason, like, because Blizzard was like this really big company, and so like EverQuest didn't have that same splash that World of Warcraft did, because like the people that made EverQuest weren't as big or as popular as Blizzard, right? It's just how it is. So whenever WoW came out and it said $15, like $15 back in 2004, by the way, like here, let me just go ahead and just do a little bit of math here. Inflation calculator per year. Let's see. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. Okay, I can't click a number on this. Okay, here we go. Number is going to be $15, and this is going to be in January of 2004. Actually, let's just it was in November. This is the same buying power of February. $23. And that's just what this website says. So obviously it would be different. So $23. So imagine if you had to spend $23 a month nowadays. People would absolutely bring that up. Yeah, and also there was a box cost. And then there was an expansion cost on top of that whenever the expansion came out in 2007. So yeah, it was around $12 to $13 back then, not $15. No, it was $15. It might have been different maybe in your country, but in the US it was $15. It's always been $15.
Warcraft, they said, was just a piss poor excuse of an MMO, a game for babies. The world and character design looked like a Sunday morning cartoon. The game was incredibly casual. Character death doesn't result in losing experience or gear.
Exactly.
Excuse me? What is this? Dungeons were instanced, meaning that rival players and guilds couldn't fight you and contest boss kills. It seemed like existing fans of the MMO genre at the time were largely unimpressed. To them, WoW was an easy, dumbed down, casual version of games that already existed. That was the general consensus of what I was reading online, on the message boards, and even the official WoW forums, everywhere I looked. Now, I read this stuff, I thought parts of it all sounded reasonable, but also I just didn't care. Like, I thought the game looked awesome, as did all my friends, and when it launched, we played it, and pretty much didn't stop playing for about 5 years straight. As we all know by now, World of Warcraft is the game in the MMO genre that came out on top. In terms of its popularity and influence, it far exceeded every one of the MMOs that came before it. The MMOs which fans of the genre prior to WoW's launch were all saying online were just much, much, much better games.
It's incredible to go back and look at how fucking garbage these games were. This is such fucking trash. Why would anybody want to play this? It's pathetic. Compared to WoW. Obviously, it was good for its time, 1998, but that was a long time ago. It was trash.
I am not saying that Diablo 4 is going to be to the ARPG genre what WoW was to MMOs. I don't think that at all. While I do feel like they have nailed combat and their implementation of this open world and social elements are really cool, something I personally enjoy. From the early testing I've done, it also doesn't seem like Blizzard is bringing much innovation or new ideas to the table, but it is still too early to fully judge the game, of course, as we have yet to play.
I would not be surprised if Diablo 4 outsells Diablo 3. I think there's a good chance that could happen.
Endgame, which is going to be one of the major things that determine long-term replayability. And maybe there are systems and features and things that they just haven't even discussed in previews or that weren't even in the end game test that they ran. I don't expect that to be the case, but it is still possible that there is some big reveal still yet to come for Diablo 4 that we will not see until the game officially releases.
They said that after the beta, they're going to talk about the end game, so hopefully that's going to happen.
Point in comparing it to World of Warcraft and the discussion around the game prior to release is that there is a pretty clear distinction in my eyes to the hardcore fans of an existing genre and then maybe what Blizzard is looking to appeal to and make a game for in that wider audience. Yes,
and
they want to
that's smart for them to do this. This is a smart thing for them to do.
Pull in fans of ARPGs.
I think that, ironically, World of Warcraft designing content for the 1%, like I feel like they have been for the last 5 years, with like how overly complex dungeons and raids have gotten. I think that's why a lot of people have moved over to play Final Fantasy. It's because WoW has turned into being that enthusiast game that doesn't appeal to the average casual player.
Or Diablo 4, just like they wanted to pull in fans of MMOs for WoW, but they're also looking to then streamline and simplify it in a way that they can push out to many, many, many more players. And I do feel like, once again, they have polished an existing structure and concept fairly well, and for a majority of people who may end up playing D4, they're likely to enjoy the game and have a pretty good time. Now, I want to be clear here that none of this is like a dismissal or hand-waving of the critiques. On the contrary, I agree with pretty much every major complaint about Diablo 4 that these creators and other hardcore ARP.
The only ones that I don't agree with is that the game is too simplistic. That's the only criticism I actually do not agree with.
Fans have been voicing. I do think the dungeon structure gets quite repetitive. I do feel like itemization should be improved so that drops feel more exciting, and
this again is something that's an outcome of it being Act 1, as Blizzard has clearly defined and explained.
Hopefully this happens with the later higher rarity items that we simply haven't even seen yet. And then how they're doing the level scaling currently feels off. Like, yes, you do seem to get weaker as you level up until you start to get better gear drops. And I'll also say that it's true that Diablo 4, from the boss mechanics to the skill tree, the progression system that we've seen at least, and the content variety, it all seems streamlined, dumbed down versions of existing ARPGs built for the mass market, because that's exactly what it is. As what WoW was to EverQuest, what StarCraft was to Command & Conquer, what Overwatch was to TF2, what Hearthstone was to Magic the Gathering, what Heroes of the Storm was to Dota, and what their upcoming unnamed survival game is going to...
I really am curious to know what this survival game is going to be like. I don't know anything about it. Nobody's told me anything, on the down low. I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to see what it's going to be.
probably be to the survival genre. That is what Diablo 4 is to Grim Dawn and Last Epoch and Diablo 2 and Path of Exile. They're looking to take the things that work, add polish, refine gameplay, and make it more palatable for the masses. That's been Blizzard's MO for a long time, and I suspect it'll continue to be their MO going forward. And
that's smart. That's what they should do, because they can't realistically, they cannot compete with Path of Exile. Path of Exile is too dynamic and too decisive with making changes and adding content. Blizzard cannot keep up with that. They're too big of a studio, and it's just not the way they run things.
Almost surprising that people seem surprised that this is the case. Now, there is room for there to strike a balance from what they have now for the streamlined, palatable version of an ARPG to the complexity and depth of a Path of Exile. And I do think there is a fine line they're trying to balance, and they can push more into.
And I also think that PoE 2 will probably simplify Path of Exile as well. I think so. But there are probably a lot of people, like I was talking to Silvervale about this, and she was like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to start PoE. I don't know if I want to play PoE. I just hear it's really complicated, and it's a 30-minute video of a spreadsheet. And you know what? She's right. It's true. So there's a lot of people that are like her, that are like, you know, more casual ARPG players. They're not going hard, not playing fucking 2,000 hours doing this research, and they never get into it. But she had multiple characters at level 25 in Diablo 4. So there you go.
That complex direction, I really do. But no, they aren't looking to like compete with Path of Exile.
They absolutely will compete with Path of Exile, whether they want to or not. People will make the decision, am I going to play Diablo 4 or Path of Exile? Absolutely. I don't think that they can't coexist. While they are competing with each other, and while Diablo 4 is going for a different audience than PoE, like it's a Venn diagram, okay? And there's a lot of people in the middle.
And games like it, they're looking to supersede it. Like, I quite like PoE. I played a ton of the game when it first entered beta testing back in 2011. 13. There's actually a Let's Play of the 11. Game still on the channel right now. Don't watch it. It's garbage content, but it is there. Like, I played this game from its inception when it was first playable. I thought it was really cool back then, and it's been amazing to see it grow and evolve over the years. PoE has really established itself as a solid ARPG for fans of that genre. Like,
I made a review of Path of Exile in 2012 or 2013, whenever the beta happened, or the closed beta weekend happened, and Kripparrian interviewed Chris Wilson on stream, and I recorded it. I have a 2012-2013 Asmongold review of Path of Exile. And I even talk about in the video, I'll upload it one day, and I even talk about the video like, yeah, Kripparrian, I came home from my dad's house. Of course I came home. I watched Kripparrian. He was playing this new game. It was really cool. I thought it was Diablo 2. And yeah, I went through the whole thing. Watch it now. It's on like my other computer, I'm pretty sure.
People really like it, and it's been seeing continuous growth. At the same time, though, it's small. Like, very small in comparison to what Blizzard expects for a number.
Well, more, it's inaccessible. PoE is extremely inaccessible, and I think that it's inaccessible in a bad way, in many regards. Like, it's good in some ways and bad in other ways. Like, for example, it's great that a person that has 2,000 hours in PoE will be able to know a lot more than a person who only has 1,000 hours. That's super cool. However, it's not super cool the fact that you get locked into a spec as a new player, and then your spec sucks. You can't respec because you don't have Orbs of Regret. They're too expensive to buy. Your fucking character's bricked. You don't have enough respecs from the campaign. You're getting killed. Now you're just fucked. So it's simultaneously accessible, and the complexity is simultaneously rewarding and also inaccessible in different regards.
Numbers for its game. The all-time peak concurrent player count for Path of Exile is just shy of 160,000 players. If Diablo 4 had 160,000 players, everyone would be calling it a dead game.
Lost Ark had 300,000 players, and everybody was calling it a dead game. Well, Lost Ark had 30,000 players and 270,000 bots, and everybody was calling it a dead game.
Be like, wow, what a failure, Blizzard.
Yeah.
Massive L. And it's not,
Blizzard
though, because
sucks, yeah.
PoE isn't a failure. 160,000 concurrent isn't a failure. It's nothing to scoff at. It's an impressive number.
And that's also like a league start. That's a league start, and then people fall off like crazy afterwards.
For most games.
And also keep in mind that most people, like, I don't play PoE through Steam. I play it through the PoE launcher. I always have.
But that's what I'm talking about. That is the sort of difference in expectations and audience size that we have between this more niche hardcore ARPG and what a lot of the criticisms are comparing it to, and what Blizzard aims for that mass appeal. And my point here isn't that bigger game equals better game. I don't think that at all. But I do think it speaks to the general appeal amongst a wider demographic that these games have, that this genre has or doesn't have or hasn't had. For everything that I think is cool and that
there's no accessible ARPG for the wide market, the wide general audience. Last Epoch is too new, it's not established yet. Diablo 3 is too old and it fucking sucks. And Path of Exile is too complicated and hard to get into.
RPG fans love about PoE, many average gamers don't care, aren't interested in, or just actively dislike. But again, I do think a better balance can be struck from where we are right now. There are definitely lessons to be learned from these other ARPGs, and I hope Blizzard does offer more complexity and more variety in the end game from what we've seen up to this point. We've still yet to play around with the Paragon board or see those 2 highest tiers of loot drops, and hopefully these do make a big difference. I mean, they should be playing a major role in build customization.
They're going to be build defining in the same way that, like, I'm trying to think, like, what was the Demon Hunter set? I don't really use it. Like the Bolkathos or the Tal Rasha set. Those are the ones I remember really well. They were completely build defining in Diablo 3.
And variety. And I just love all of the in the weeds dissection and discussion that we've been seeing over the course of the past week, now that a lot of different experienced veteran players of this genre have gotten their hands on it. This is the stuff that's super interesting and important to players like me, but I also remember my 18-year-old self not caring at all what the hardcore MMO players had to say about WoW prior to it coming out. And I do think there's a degree of that happening here as well, and just with games
well, the casual audience is never going to see that because they're not going to the 4chan thread about Diablo. They're not going to the PoE general thread on /VG. They don't even know that exists. They have no idea. They're just like, wow, this looks cool, and so you can fight Diablo. Oh, that girl is hot. Oh, wow. Yeah, we'll try this one. I remember I played Diablo 2 back in the day, like 20 years ago. That was fun. Yeah, let's buy the new one. Honey, can we get this? And that's it. They're not going to ask for the approval of a message board.
In general, there is so much like minutia we tend to really focus on that seems ultra important, but maybe in the grand scheme of things really isn't important, and that really accounts for a lot of what I talk about on this channel as well. Like a lot of the stuff that I fret over, that I get hyper fixated on, that I'm like, this is such a huge deal, to 95% of the player base of these games that I talk about, they're just like, whew,
they have no idea. Somebody else said something really good in chat. Yes, most of the people that are going to play Diablo 4 found out about the game on TV. They're watching The Big Bang Theory. They're watching True Detectives. And fucking a commercial comes on. And it's like, Diablo 4. Oh, man. I gotta get this.
And that they don't get it, or that they couldn't get it, but it doesn't matter. They sit down, they have fun. And I think we also have to remember that there are these different portions of the audience and different types of players, because there's a huge difference between a person who considers themselves like a big ARPG fan, who plays Path of Exile, who plays Last Epoch, who plays all of these different games, who still plays Diablo 2 to this day in and day out, week after week. There's a huge difference between their expectations and their needs and the needs and expectations of most people of a bulk.
I think it's always a mistake to try to keep people like that happy, because they're never going to be happy.
Of the potential purchasers and the people who are potentially going to be playing D4 with their needs, their desires, what they look for in the game, what they want out of a game. Massive difference. That said, I do think the opinion of these seasoned and hardcore players is incredibly valuable, especially for the long-term health of the game, because these are the ones.
Absolutely look at what hardcore players are saying about the game whenever it first comes out, because what their problems are in like week 1 are going to be casual player problems in month 2. This is what happened with New World. Is I went and I played the fuck out of New World. I hit level 60 in New World twice on 2 separate betas, okay? And I told everybody, I said, this game sucks at endgame. There's nothing to do. It's trash. And everyone was like, you fucking loser. I'm level 24. I've been fishing, listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival for the last 2 hours. This game's beautiful. I'm having fun. You need to get a life. And then guess what happens? A month later, they finally roll around to level 60. And they're saying the same fucking thing I am. So keep in mind that is going to happen with Diablo 4. So I think people should absolutely take the criticism whenever the game comes out of hardcore players extremely seriously, because the problems they're seeing now, you'll see later.
Ones with thousands of hours sunk into their particular game or genre of choice, and they know the ins and outs and the mechanisms and mechanics that keep them coming back after all this time. And if they're not seeing it in D4, they're gonna call it out, and justifiably so, because without these things, D4 might just be a game that they play for a little while and then go back to their core game. And maybe that's okay, but ultimately a lot of these people, I get the sense, and me, when I critique games, I'm looking to improve it to fit my needs of long term and my desire to continue playing a game.
Yeah. I'm going to say like, oh, I'm not playing it as much because of this or that. Yeah, of course. I think that's what everybody does.
Keep coming back to a game, even if that isn't what everyone is looking for. And the best thing I think Blizzard can do, or any games company can do, is try to find that balance between those different audiences with their different needs and what they look for. And if you do consider yourself one of those more hardcore players or someone who's more interested in that kind of discussion, absolutely watch all of this content. Watch all of those different creators that I talked about. It's really, really good stuff. I do plan to do a video diving into my overall thoughts and critiques, but I'm probably going to wait until after this upcoming weekend's beta. With all that said, bottom line for me is, Diablo 4 is a ton of fun to play, and I suspect I will be spending a lot of time with it. A lot of these criticisms are very valid, but they still won't matter likely to 95% of the player base who doesn't plan to spend hundreds or thousands of hours. It will matter to those people, though, who are planning to sink 1,000 hours, and I do...
Yeah, if you are a 5,000 plus hour Andy into Path of Exile, you might find some enjoyment on Diablo 4 season releases, but I don't think you'll get the same fulfillment out of it that you do from Path of Exile.
Hope that these critiques are taken seriously for that portion of the player base, because these are the ones that will stick around long term, funding the live service model that Blizzard's going all in on. And I do think there's a good chance that I will be one of those players, especially if the end game proves to provide enough variety and content. I've enjoyed the base of what I've played so far and have every intention to keep playing going forward if they can provide those hooks and provide that replayability. I do want to talk about and cover Diablo 4 a lot more than I even have at this point, but I don't want to flood this channel with daily updates, news, or guides even for one game.
It to be like
I've just been enjoying the variety of style and content and games that we cover, and I want to keep going down that path. So that said, we're starting a second channel. That's the plan right now. This will be entirely focused on Diablo 4. We'll probably be producing guides, news, and updates. It's just going to be full-on Diablo 4 coverage. And the goal of which, sort of like what I do with this channel, is to try to make stuff that is hopefully useful and helpful and interesting for everyone to watch, but just about one game instead of the variety that we do here. And I say we because my pal Liam is going to be making videos with me as well. We've known each other for a while. He's actually been editing on this channel for about a year or so now, maybe a little longer. And we've been working together on different projects, and we're planning to do this Diablo channel collaboratively. And also, if you were a fan of Overwatch back in the day, you will probably recognize his voice as well when you check it out. Should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited, and I'm looking forward to the game and spending a lot more time with it. There's a link below if you're interested in checking out Diablo 4 specific content from me and Liam. Before we wrap things up here, just a quick shout out and thank you to today's sponsor. Once again, this video was sponsored by Ridge Wallet, the products that are designed to help streamline what you carry. They're made of these durable materials, have a nice weighty...
You know, I've had the same wallet ever since I was in 8th grade. It's a Nintendo wallet, and it has an NES controller on the front of it. I bought it at GameStop in 8th grade. I still use it.
Feel and a simple compact design, all of which let you carry just the things you need while taking up less space than what traditional wallets do. I've had my Ridge wallet for well over a year, and I just really enjoy using it. Other features include the ability to hold up to 12 cards while also having room for cash. These are offered in over 30 different colors and styles. You've got a lot of different things to choose from, and it's got a lifetime warranty on top of a 99-day risk-free trial. Beyond the wallets, they've also got a range of other products, including key cases, watches, and pens. Currently, there's a special 10-year anniversary sale taking place. If you use the link below or head over to ridge.com/force, from now until March 26, you can save up to 40% off on a purchase. So that pretty much does it for this video. I just wanted to dive into this topic because I just found it interesting, kind of the comparisons to pre-WoW and the hardcore MMO community, and how pre-D4 this hardcore ARPG community has had these particularly nuanced opinions. They're all really valid.
Oh yeah, people's opinions of the game are going to be very different than the average player's opinion, though. That's the difference.
Agree with the majority of them. I'll probably be diving into a lot of it with my other videos, but I guess I found it funny, my perspective and how it shifted over the years, and how back in that day, I really didn't care what all of the hardcore MMO nerds had to say. And nowadays, if I were listening to myself, I wouldn't care what this hardcore nerd had to say either about D4 for a lot of things. Yeah,
I would just play the game. If people don't like it, I would. Who gives a shit? I just try it out, and if it's bad, I'll figure that out myself.
It's just interesting. It really is. It really is interesting. But this stuff is super important. It's great content, and yeah, check out Crip, check out Ziggy D, check out Mr. Lam SE, check out Asmongold. He doesn't need any more promotion, does he? You're doing good work, by the way, dude. Keep it up. That's it for me today. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, and if you play Diablo 4 this weekend, I hope you have a good time. I will be. Maybe I'll see you out there on doing a world boss or completing a public event or clearing a stronghold or something. See ya on the fields of, what is it called? The fields of, it's not Azeroth. That's the other game. Yeah, see ya in Sanctuary.
Yeah, it was probably a cut. There you go. All right, guys. Well, yeah, I wanted to watch this video and catch up on it. It came out a couple of days ago. I didn't really get into it. But yeah, I think this is a pretty fair video of pretty much a lot of people's critiques of the game and thoughts on it, everything, etc. So yeah, there you go, guys. D4 creator, by the way. Hey, I bet there's a lot of people that you ask them where the fuck is it Diablo, like, is it in hell? Like, I don't know, Earth? I bet a lot of people have no fucking idea, okay? Like, I sat through and I watched, like, a bunch of different cinematics, so I know a lot about it. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of things that, like, super serious players of a game genre sometimes feel like they are the center of the universe because everything that they consume revolves around them. But the truth is that with games like Diablo and Overwatch and World of Warcraft, there is like this massive, I hate using the word, the term, but it's true, silent majority. of these casual fucking gamer dads. They found out about Diablo 4 on a commercial in between watching the game on Sunday. They're wondering why there hasn't been a BlizzCon recently. Why did this one NPC get taken out of my WoW game? Are they going to re-release Classic WoW? Yeah, they have no fuck. Yeah, they went to KFC and they saw a picture of Lilith and they were like, well, that looks cool. Maybe I'll buy that when it comes out. She's hot. That's it. That's, oh yeah, they're Blizzard's bread and butter. They sure are. And that's what Diablo 4 is. Those are the people that Diablo 4 really has to hit. If it hits us too, I'm happy. And it seems like it will. Definitely. But we are not the main audience. And I think that's okay. And I think I'll still enjoy Diablo 4 and I'll still have fun with it, even if I'm not the most serious fucking, not the opposite. I'm not like a super casual, like fucking 9 to 5 gamer dad. Now, I think it'll still be fun, at least for a while, every season. And every season, I think that depends on whether they add more content. This is a good video. I'll give it a like. I'll go ahead and link it to you guys. Oh, actually, I unliked it. There we go. There we go. I'm in the midway of those two spectrums. I think most people are in the midway. Like, there's very few people that are like 100% gamer dads versus 100% the opposite.